This is Shifting Our Schools, episode 76, The Kindest School.
Listen up, educators. Are you looking to take your classroom to the next level? The technological shift in education is happening right now. If you're looking to integrate technology into your classroom, you're in the right place. Welcome to Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to Shifting Our Schools. Thank you for listening. I have a great conversation with Brian Tupper in store for you as he launches his Kindest School, and you're going to hear all about that here to come. It's spring break season again for all you educators out there, so enjoy your week off, whether you are on it now or have it coming up in the next couple of weeks. I know every school kind of does it different, but it's usually right around here sometime in April. Take some time for yourself and recharge those batteries. Of course, after spring break, for many of us, we have the dreaded testing season, and with it, the start of the school year winding down. What I love most, though, about this time of the year, besides the weather, is that this is the perfect year to try something new. So that's my challenge to you this week, is to try something new you have put off all year. Maybe it's been that app that you heard about. It's something that you wanted to try. Maybe it was flipping your classroom, or you wanted to try something in a new and different way. It doesn't even have to be tech related. Take some time here at the end of the school year. This is such a great time to try something new. A lot of times I hear teachers who want to try something new in the fall. And by the time fall comes around, you're so busy getting the beginning of the year set up that you never have that space to try something new. So this is a good time. You know, the schedules get all wonky after spring break. You have all kinds of assemblies with testing taking place there. You know, you've got these little patches of time. What a perfect place to innovate. A great time to try something, see if it works. If it does work, then how are you going to use it next year? But you have to have some place to innovate, and this is the perfect time of year to do that. So my challenge to you is, between now and the end of the year, can you find time to do something, to try something that maybe you've put off all year to do? This is the time to do it and see if it works for you. If you do that, I'd really love to hear from you over on our Flipgrid. Now, if you just go to sospodcast.org, up at the top, you'll see a button there that says comment, which will take you to our Flipgrid. Maybe you've never left a Flipgrid response publicly before for other educators. Maybe that's your challenge. Head on over there and please leave a Flipgrid response. If you try something new with your kids, let us know how it worked. Teachers sharing their experiences is how we all grow together. Just remember, fear is the opposite to success, not failure. And we've got to get out of that zone of fear of trying something new and get to a place where we're able to fail and fail forward. And remember, FAIL stands for first attempt in learning, to see what it is we can change for our students in our classrooms. So get out of that fear zone and give it a go. Try something new and see what happens here at the end of this school year. All right, on to the episode. This week, I sit down with Brian Tupper, who I met back in 2012, 2013, when he took the COTEL program, which is our Certificate of Educational Technology and Information Literacy program that I was running at the time. Since then, Brian has gone on to start his own school called the Kindest School. What an honor to have him talk about his project and the launch on the Shifting Our Schools podcast, where he's actually going to launch for the first time the Kindest School. If you like what you hear, please help Brian spread the word by sharing this podcast episode or the links in the show notes to others. We're going to have all the links for you of ways even how you can reach out to Brian and everything that he talks about. Teachers supporting teachers. That's what moves education forward. Have a great week. And with that, on with the show. Welcome to another episode of Shifting Our Schools. So excited to be joined with Brian here today from Bangkok. This is the thing I love about technology, is being able to teach, talk with people all over the world. So fantastic. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule and getting up early to do this. I had to schedule this a little bit early because I might have a Mariners game to go to later.
So yeah, that was a great send-off. Ichiro had a great send-off, wasn't it?
It was so good. It was so good. And my first Mariners game of the season, so you know how it is. So
yeah, absolutely. I understand. I'm a Mets fan.
Yeah, awesome. So, well, thank you for joining me. And I just want to get us started by letting you introduce yourself to the Shifting Our Schools community, talk about where you've come from, your journey in education, and then we're going to get into your new project that you're launching called kindnestschool.org. So
yeah, the Kindest School. Thanks. Well, my name is Brian Tupper. I've been a teacher for 18 and a half years. And, I've seen, like you talked about, the name of your podcast is Shifting Our Schools.
Yeah.
That shift, I lived it. I started working in 2000 and all the way up like to 2019. What a monumental shift in education and the opportunities that are out there now, I just kept trying to challenge myself throughout my career. I started out teaching in rural Jacksonville, Florida, like out on the farms, and then moved to the beach for a year.
Wow.
Then I wanted to go to, I wanted to try something different. I wasn't achieving what I wanted to, I wasn't challenging myself. So I taught inner city voluntarily. I went to Jacksonville inner city school, and I wanted to learn. It was a fascinating experience. It was 8 years of my life. But I also started to get, feel disenfranchised by the school system, made me, you saw some of the worst run schools that I've ever seen. And I was like, oh. And so my next step was to try and see what it's like globally. And I ended up going and teaching at a Korea International School on Jeju Island. And I won the faculty global leader there 2 of my 5 years there. So I'm basically doing what I'm, the same lessons that I'm doing right now,
Yeah, very cool.
And then I was actually at the conference that I met you at.
Yeah.
I was some woman noticed me and nominated me for the International School Teacher of the Year for 2-1 CL, and then that was I made it as a finalist. Didn't get picked. Wow. I'm a little sour about it. No, I'm kidding.
That's great though. Congratulations.
It was a great honor,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to keep, sharing, like what that I went to Coattail.
Yeah.
And that was the shift in my life, learning. You did something at Coattail where something that I always bothered me about education was teachers who would not share, resources.
Yeah.
Back in 2000, I'd be like, oh, I was a new teacher. Can I use that? They're like, no, this is mine. I made this. Novel study because of Winn-Dixie.
Yeah.
I'm like, I haven't read this book. I have to.
So when did you go through? When did you go through Coattail? When did you go through Coattail?
2013, 2014.
Okay. All right.
I think.
All right.
So yeah, because I started in South Korea in 2012, and Ian Craig, who was our IT coordinator, he's like, I was asking him, like, I don't know how to teach kids in a one-to-one computer, and like I need, this is a powerful tool. How do I use it? And he goes, go to Coattail.
Oh, cool.
And it was the best PD I've ever taken. It was absolutely the best PD I've ever taken.
And why do you think that? What do you think it was about Coattail that, was, because I love asking people, we've graduated over 1,000 people through that program, all international educators like yourself, and everybody frequently, not everybody, frequently people say some of the best PD I've ever done. And I don't know what the magic sauce of it was. Was it the being forced to reflect? Was it the open sharing of resources with colleagues of the
sharing had a lot to do with it, it gave us a chance, like, this is really the first PD where we were learning from other teachers.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. Like when you go and, you sat through faculty meetings where they bring somebody in and you don't have any say in it. They're going to put their keynote up on the board and they're going to talk.
Yeah.
Like they're going to tell you how to teach. Don't teach this way. Don't teach the way I'm modeling it. Like I'm going to tell you no interaction. Now you go and do it differently. It's like, oh, but what you taught us was to share with each other. Like, we were seeing things. Like I learned about like Quizlet when I was there, and I learned about just from the community. Like I learned about Nearpod around that time. I mean, these are all things. And then I was able to share it with other teachers. I was like, look at how cool this is, and
very cool.
That's a lot of what I'm trying to do is share what I've created. Because I've had teachers be like, you should go and be a technology coordinator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but why don't I just sell my lessons? I'm like, if you want me to go teach them somebody how to do it, I'm like, I can it's 2019. We can do that now.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is something different, right, about the ability to just, like you're saying, you can go sell your lesson plan, but
Yeah.
selling a lesson is not the same as doing the lesson. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that I think gets missed a lot, is it's very easy to grab resources. The resources are out there. They're
Yeah. There's
everywhere,
tons of resources.
but there's something, teachers that have that special something. It doesn't matter what the resource is, right? The resource is just there, but the relationship you have with the students, the classroom environment that you create,
Yeah.
all of that is more important than the resource you
Oh,
go and grab off the internet, right? We all know
it
that.
is, yeah, absolutely. And having the teacher there, it's so impactful because they lead these discussions,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to try and do with Kindest Generation. This textbook that I've been creating is get ideas, give them topics that are easy to talk about, like where
Yeah.
you can focus on. Like I broke it down into 4 thematic units. So it's under the acronym KIND. So K is knowledge is power. So under here, you might learn about how the brain works and like what a growth mindset is. So you get the ability to start talking about what are things that, what are goals that you want to set academically and personally. And we give comparisons of a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Another one is like on empathy.
Cool.
Trying to put, give teachers and parents the opportunity to talk to their kids about something that's important.
Yeah.
The I on it in the acronym is inspire others. So this is all stories that of great people who do amazing things. They don't get, the great people and all the work that they do doesn't get any of the publicity.
Yeah.
But if you look at what is in, watching these kids over, the media is mostly negative.
Yeah.
You don't. And there's a message behind it all, and that's hard for a kid to decipher what's going on.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
one of the things I want to do, I don't think that politics or religion, I was as a social studies teacher have no place in education. So it's
Yeah.
you got to teach the unbiased way, and you see, and there's stories out there of teachers who are teaching one way or the other, and that's not fair. That's not you're not supposed to be you're not supposed to teach kids what to think. You're supposed
Yeah.
to teach them how to think, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what these lessons are inspiring or try to do. Like the inspire others. There's so many good people. Like there's one on Steph Curry and all the work that he does for malaria. Like these are like pretty cool things that these guys are doing that don't get talked about.
Yeah.
So we try and bring spotlight on these. The Never Give Up. There's one on is the End, and there's one on like Jim Valvano that I have that I'm working on. There's one on Malala. There's just different types of topics, just again to get people talking. And the last one is D, diversity is strength, and this is where you bring it all together. You can spotlight, like there's one on like Martin Luther King, and then there's one on climate refugees. There's one on Crazy Rich Asians, about their success that they had. Like stuff that is really current. Oh, another one from Never Give Up that I just did was the Thailand cave rescue. I want to make it relevant, and with this book, I want to try and get, hey, what do you want to learn about? And then we'll create a lesson for you and share it for you,
I love it.
and try to make it really interactive with the Kindest Generation. That's who they are. That's who it's built for.
Yeah.
This group of kids, I mean, you've seen it. Like they are unbelievably smart. Like they're eons ahead of where we were at that age.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
They walk around with a computer in their pocket.
Yeah.
They have a good advantage.
And to your point, I mean, all the research on this current generation is showing they're more empathetic at their age than any generation has been. And what is that going to do for them just as they continue to get older?
Yeah, and that's I see that too. They're they're so kind. Like they this is like a generation that's growing up. They don't care what color you are. They don't care what what gender you are. It doesn't matter. Like everybody's they're being raised to think equally.
Yeah.
There's definitely kickback and fight from others, but most of the kids don't have that. They don't. Like it's old people who are fighting about it.
Yeah, exactly. So true.
So like, well, whatever. Don't even. I don't need to hear you.
So you're now in Bangkok. What brought you from Bangkok? What are you doing there now?
I needed a place that was when I left. I went from Korea to Azerbaijan, and then when I started working on this, I was like really, I felt impassioned that I had to I've been working on for years. But then my dad got ill, and I was like, and I wanted to be able to have that freedom,
Yeah.
you know, because if you're living in Azerbaijan, you're living in Korea. It's not a 2-hour plane ride.
Right.
It's a hike, and I make that hike 4 times a year. I don't want to make it 6.
Yeah.
But my dad got ill, so I was like, okay, I need to find a way to give me some more flexibility. And I said, well, this is go time now. And I went to my principal, and I basically, it got to the point, and this is honest truth. It was on a Monday in October, and I'd been working on this idea and then these lessons, and I got to class on Monday, and I just kept thinking about it. And I wasn't thinking about the kids. And I said, it's time to go. Because I said, the moment that day happened, you don't deserve to be in the classroom anymore. You lose that privilege. If you're not focused on the kids. And that Friday I retired to start this. I mean, because that was the reason, and that's how my philosophy on teaching. If you're not willing, it's a privilege to teach, and if you're not willing to give them your attention, then you shouldn't be there. That's time to find something else.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your Kindest school.
Yes.
So it's kindestschool.org, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thekindestschool.org. Yeah.
Thekindestschool.org. And you said you're building it mostly with Nearopod, which is great because I know a ton of teachers who are already familiar with that platform and use it with their
Nearopod's
kids.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
They started their company in 2012. I found out about them in 2013 during Coattail.
Right.
It was actually one of the teachers that I worked with, Leanne Toller. She told me about it, and then I started looking it up, and then I went to Coattail, and then I found out more information about it. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Where you can bring all these technologies under one umbrella, and there's interaction with the kids. The kids can type in their answers, and you see their answers in real time.
Yeah.
And my shift there was I was teaching in Korea, and I was teaching a social studies lesson, and none of the kids were answering. They weren't interacting. They weren't engaged. And I was like, oh, and I'm like, and I was like, why isn't anybody answering? And they said, well, we're waiting for Jeffrey to answer. And I was like, what? Yeah, he's our go-to guy. And I was like, oh my, you guys are just waiting for Jeffrey. So none of them the Nearpod thing. And I said, now you're getting Nearpods all the time. And Nearpod allows that every kid had to type in an answer, and I could see their results in real time. And then they became much better writers. I was like, hey, put a period on that. Started with
Yeah.
because you're if somebody's way off, you're like, okay, here, let's talk about this answer. You can do more one-on-one stuff. It's and the fact that you can download every report and it has all your answers. There's so many features that you can do. Like I was, at a time when remember you have to type in a website and then you'd have to go and check every kid HTTPS, you got to find it in this long, here it's like, click here, you go to the website. Here's a virtual field trip of for Malala. It's a great one. Cause she talks about how she wants to go back to Pakistan.
Right.
Wonder, kids asked why. And I showed them a virtual field trip of Swat Valley. And I said, look at how beautiful it is. And oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it gives you so many different ways to interact. And I use Quizlet in the beginning to start off each lesson. And then I get the kids to do a Quizlet live. And so the kids they love it. They love Quizlet. They love Quizlet live. I mean, that is their favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Then I would use Newsella. This is basically the structure of it because it differentiates your ELA.
Right.
So you can use the same lesson and get an article at a 10th grade reading level or an 8th grade or a 6th grade or a 4th grade or a 2nd grade reading level. So your lesson, for any teacher, they can use it, take advantage of the technology, and then they take a quiz on it, and it's already graded for the teacher. Everything it's nice for the teacher. Then at the end, I usually have a quizzes, or a Kahoot or something like that where they play and just there is a review. And those are the kids. They knew that, so they love those types of games. And everything that I did is tested in the classroom. It was tested in the classroom in Korea. It was tested in the classroom in Azerbaijan. It didn't matter where I was. They absolutely loved these lessons. So I was like, okay, I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
And how can I,
Mm-hmm.
spread this and make it, let more people know about it? Because, you talk about kind, that's why I call it kind. But I mean, that's the kindest thing I could do is try and give it to as many people I don't think learning should have a price on it.
Yeah.
Make it as
So
cheap as you can.
I love that. So talk a little bit about the structure. So the structure is you've got these 4 themes that are kind.
Yeah.
And then within that theme, what's the structure within each one of those themes? So are they broken into units or are they lessons? Like what's that structure?
Yeah, they're
like for
broken
a
into
team?
individual lessons. So
Okay.
each lesson will have, all the components of the Quizlet and the Newsella and the quizzes. But I look for something that with any story that's relevant. And I'm like, okay, like what does this story fit under? Like, is this a story about diversity? Or is this a
Yeah.
story that shows people not giving up? Or is this a story about just somebody doing a great thing? Or is this something like climate science, which is a lot of
Yeah.
climate science lessons involved? I'm trying to make sure that at least 25% of them are.
Yeah.
And these are the things that they need to be focusing on, these kids. Like worrying about the Battle of Hastings, it's not that important, but, finding out how to, solutions, like these kids are very creative and innovative. And they always say education is the greatest tool. Like if we can give them the help that they need and be like, make sure here, let me help you let me find you something that you can help at, what do you want? Let me try and find your desire, like what inspires you? Let's find it.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of service learning into it, and that's what the Kindest School is going to really go for. Now, the Kindest School is a virtual school. Like it's like legit, like we're going to have students, like we use the Kindest Generation textbook for our lessons, our live lessons. But this is really something very similar to what you talked about in Coattail about becoming a creator and a facilitator of learning.
Yeah.
I just, when I went to Coattail and I got my credits through SUNY Buffalo, right? Mm-hmm. So I got my master's degree at SUNY Buffalo. I've never been to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you learn that, and I learned more in your Coattail class than I ever did sitting in a classroom. So it's a humbling thought as a teacher that you don't need to be in a school building anymore to learn. Like, and if you look at what's going on in the education system, you got Betsy DeVos, and she's taking funding away from Special Olympics. You've got Aunt Becky showing you that, colleges don't really, it's all about money. Here's your piece of paper. It doesn't really give you any skill, obviously.
Yeah.
You got women, a couple of moms in Texas saying that who you can teach about and who you can't teach about. And you're like, wait a minute, there's something wrong with this. Like there's no educator involved in any of this. These are all policymakers who are not educators. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And I want to try and be that voice to give kids a choice in their learning. I think experience and learning in person, it's like a customizable education plan. So if a parent, wants to join, like a homeschool parent or something like that, then I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You have all the stuff that I have, like that you can use for technology for reading, like Newsella, like Accelerated Reader and STAR testing and Khan Academy. Use all those to be your skill and drill stuff, and get your baseline. And here's where your kid's reading at. And we're going to get them reading because we're going to let them read about what they want and at their level. That's how you become a better reader. Yeah. Not by, giving them one size fits all. Okay. You have you've been in any classroom, you have multiple level readers in every class.
Yeah.
So we take care of all that. We put them in a computer science program like code.org and monitor their learning there. Do online lessons with them using the Kindest Generation lessons. So walk them through it. They're interactive. I've noticed that a lot of these e-schools, they don't use Nearpod. I think I'm like one of the only schools using Nearpod at these. A lot of them use webinars and video-based stuff. So this one is going to actually, the kids are going to be involved, and I can download the report and send it right to their parents. Say, here's what your kid did today. Complete transparency. And then we put a mandatory, like we build into the school day, 4 hours of service a week. So you practice empathy, where you go out to a children's hospital or you go clean up a beach, like you do like a trash tag challenge, and you document this, and you put it up on a portfolio, right? Like you document what you're doing. And then here's the really cool part is I just learned a couple of weeks ago, I'm using teachable.com to host the site. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of courses online that I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Like there's such like, they're like, you have to find your niche course. And they were showing examples of these teachers. Like one of them is teaching how to nurse a goat. And she's making, there's stuff on how to be a coder, and there's how to be a, like how to, be a farmer, how to be a baker, and that is where I was like, we can customize their learning. So come to us, let's sit down with your kid. Let's talk about what they want to learn. And then we'll go and we'll try and find courses for you that fit your need. We'll give you options, and then you take it from there, and really try and give them. And so when you go, like Google they're hiring these kids out of high school now, they're coming right. They're not letting them skip into college. It's crazy what they're doing, So you want to try and give them the best portfolio. Here's what I've been doing. These are all the classes that I've taken. Here's stuff that I've made. Here's stuff that I've created. And then here's all the service that I've been doing. And here's my reading scores for fiction. Here's my reading scores for nonfiction. Here's my math score. And, it's not for everybody, but, because it's science, it's not going to be easy for like somebody who's into animal science and stuff like that. But that's, it's not for everybody, but it's for some people. And that's the important part. That's the goal.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to frame it, right? There's nothing I have found that's for everybody.
Yeah.
But how can we make little things for niche groups? And that's really what the world has become, and what the internet has allowed is every niche group should have a way to learn the way that they want to learn. And this becomes, whenever I'm talking about, especially with teachers who are in a one-to-one program, a lot of times we get in this mindset that it has to either be paper or be on the computer. And that to me is a very limiting factor. Is what technology has done more than anything is diversify every single student to be able to do whatever is best for that kid. To your point, like you have a kid that loves reading nonfiction space and wants to do space travel. Why can't they? There's so much out there for them.
So much out there.
It's just incredible. That kid can, and this is one of the things is just talking with a lot of English teachers, especially, and I find this fascinating, especially by the time you get to high school, there's almost a sense that there are certain things that have to be read. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, I understand that we all had to read Shakespeare, right?
Yeah.
Because we were all in the class and we've been reading Shakespeare for generations. Therefore, we should all read Shakespeare. And I understand that there are some shared experiences we want kids to have, but I don't know if reading something like Shakespeare that doesn't in any way apply to my world today.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Thing I'm going to force. I don't know. I struggle with that.
No, I totally agree, and that's one of the things that I've tried to, focus on is like if you want your kids to read and to learn, like I always had great reading test scores. And they're like, even from the beginning of my teaching career, I always had great, listen to this story. I had my second year, they were taking our FCAT testing and they've set a computer up. Not a computer, a video camera up to watch me. And I was like, this is because I had such high scores the year before that they thought I'm like, go ahead, watch. I'm like, I'm not going to do anything. And my scores are higher that year. I was like, yeah, thanks so much. But there's no secret. Like the big secret is let them read what they want and give them stuff on their reading level. If it's too hard for them, they're going to get frustrated and if it's too easy for them, they're going to get bored. So you have to make sure there's plenty of stuff at every reading level now. Yeah. There's no need to have that excuse anymore if I can't find anything for them.
Yeah.
Because the internet has given education more resources than, and that's one of the things that we talk about. Like you said earlier was that it has to be pencil or it has to be online. Like, if you want to get through to this generation, you need to use technology. Like these kids were born, like you talked about it in Coattail, about digital natives versus digital immigrants. These kids have never known a time where they haven't had an iPhone.
Yeah.
Like, they're the smartphone generation.
Yeah. And I think we're even redefining reading to the point where I read 2 books last week and never opened a page. I had them read to me because they're audiobooks while I'm driving across the state. does that still count? Yeah. Do I still want kids to read? Absolutely. But reading comes in all sorts of forms today. Knowing how to read a video, that's something we've been doing in a lot of the workshops I've been in now, is what is the media literacy that this generation needs to have, because they're watching so much video. And
Yeah.
to your point where you were saying, helping kids digest that and understand what is being said and what is the point of view that I'm in, that is coming at me. And we do a really great job of slowing that down in paper format, where we have kids read a chapter, then we discuss it. But very rarely do I see teachers like watch a YouTube video, pause it, and say, what did you hear there? What is the point of view that's being shared? What is the political slant to that point of view? And helping kids really break down audio, visual, and reading. Like that today has to be part. When we say you're literate, we have to redefine that being literate doesn't mean just being able to read on paper. And that to me is a major shift that we've got to get into this generation.
When one of the things I've also created is this, it's called a one-of-a-kind wonder study, because it was the last novel that I was teaching to my kids.
Yeah.
And what it does is like, it takes that, you have to write, like, because I don't know if have you read Wonder?
No, I haven't. No.
And Wonder is written from the points of view of like 5 different people.
Okay.
And it's all telling the story about this kid who has a craniofacial disorder, but everything else about him, but he has this, he looks different from everybody else, and he's picked on for it, and he's bullied for it. And this one kid sticks up for him, and it's all about being kind to people, and so the hashtag that the author uses is choose kind. So I'm like, yeah, this will be the first novel study I do, and what you do is we look at the video from the movie, and if we compare it and contrast it to what it is, and then you're saying, like, think about her point of view. What do you think she'd be going through? Tweet something, pretend that you're on her Twitter account, and what would she be tweeting, and put yourself in those shoes. That's, if we can teach kids to put themselves in somebody else's shoes, then you're teaching empathy, and that's the most important thing that we can teach them.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your Kindest generation. So the Kindest generation is for lack of a better term, the text or the core, the structure.
It's
the structure of the.
Yeah. The structure of the lesson, those are the lessons that we do.
And other teachers can sign up and get those, or how does that work?
Well, again, like one of the things and I think this is ironic that I'm telling you and I'm announcing it to you.
I love it.
Because you were my professor in Coattail, right?
Yeah.
So we had a final project. So I went to Coattail. Again, I came to Korea. I never had a Google account.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that, I realized how much I did not know. I went to Coattail, and then we had a final project. Well, this basically turned out to be my final project, because you said to us, one of your goals should be to try and give back to teaching. And I told you, like in the beginning, I never liked it when teachers would hoard lessons. Like, if you have a good lesson, share it.
Yeah.
And that stuck in my mind, it was like, how can I share these lessons? And then Nearpod gave me that ability. The software that we use now wasn't available back in 2000. Like, Nearpod came out in 2012, and Teachable came out in 2014. So when we talk to people, when we tell kids that your job hasn't been created yet, I'm living proof of that. This would not have been possible 5 years ago. So when you talk about the Sammer model, I'm right on the R.
Love it.
This would not have been, like, it was not feasible to do something like this 5 years ago. And I was right on the cusp of it, watching it through Coattail, learning from other teachers. And so what I want to do is give it back. And how do you give it back? Because I'm like, I see Sal Khan. He's one of my heroes.
Yeah.
He changed education. But I look at him, and he's doing these fundraising drives, because he has 10 million viewers. And I was like, he's like, we're going to give it to everybody for free. And I was like, I bet you he wishes, he said, I'll bet you get everybody for $1 a year. You know? And so that's what I'm going to try and do, is like, I'm going to give the kind of, like, the PTAs. Well, I priced it at $1 a month. But then I only did that because I wanted to give PTAs a little love, because parent teacher associations they are, I worked with so many of them throughout. The people who run those, they are so dedicated, and they want everything for the best for their schools, and for their kids. the best ally you have as a teacher is the parent. It is not, it is not the principal. The principal, who cares? Like if you're in good with the parents, you are golden. And I retired undefeated in parent teacher conferences. So that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
Undefeated.
And not every parent came in happy, but they left happy. And and it's, so I wanted to give them the ability to buy it for every kid at their school for $1 a year instead of $1 a month. And then I wanted to also give back and pay it forward to all the teachers out there, because every teacher knows that there are times where you are running late, you haven't hit the copy machine, there's something that teaching is not an easy everyday job. I did it for 18 years. It's chaos sometimes, especially like when, you have assemblies and you're like, what am I going to do with this hour? Here's an option. Like I want like downloadable lessons, the click of a button, you can click it, download it and launch it in 3 minutes, and it's reading across the curriculum. It's differentiated. Oh, and the cool thing, I haven't even mentioned this, is being an international teacher. I noticed how hard it is if you're just like, for ELL students, English language learner students, sometimes teachers get frustrated because they've told the kids directions, but the ELL kid has no clue what you said.
Yeah.
Like, what did you, I don't know what you're telling me to do or asking me to do. So all the way the lessons are set up, there's this instruction, like a transition slide. Like, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be watching a video, or we're going to be reading about this. Or you're going to take a field trip here, or, a virtual field trip. And I have it translated in a slideshow, so they can look at the English at the top, or Spanish, or Mandarin, or Korean, or Thai.
Cool. Wow.
So, and the more subscriptions that I get, the people will go in. I plan to invest it into getting more languages translated and getting more lessons done. So
it's one of the biggest things that I constantly hear is, does that come in a Spanish version, or does that come in an Arabic version or a French version?
And
so that you're investing in that is huge. I love that.
But that's the whole diversity of strength part of it. There are so many wonderful learners, man. I love teaching in Asia, man. It was like, they inspired me. Like the kids in Korea inspired me to do, you couldn't have an off day there.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
That's why, you had to be at the top of your game every day. And it was like, whoo, because they were ready to learn, and they would not, they were happy. They were not having it. Yeah. If they were you had to give them top quality education. That brought out the best in me. They really did. They inspired me. Like, you helped teach me that, about a lot of things. I mean, about working with other teachers and about the technology. So to get back to that last point about the PTAs, is if they pay $2 a student, then every teacher gets all the downloadable codes at the school.
Wow, very cool.
So I'm not trying, I don't want to try and break any school's bank, and I thought that was an easy way to not do it. And I don't want to break a teacher's bank. They work hard for their money, and and I think learning, if you want to change education, you take down the first thing that they stand for now. It is proven. It's bureaucracy and money. Like, I'm going to say we can give everybody learning should not be expensive.
What I love about that is it's very low risk as well. Like $2. Yeah. Try it. Yeah. See if it works for your kids. See if it works for you. What's $2? I mean, that's cheaper than a lot of things you can buy online for resources, for sure. And not nearly this diversified and this, specifically laid out. Like, you're not downloading a printable here. You're downloading an entire system, that you get to infuse with your students. That's great.
And I have posters. This was another thing that bothered me, and this is why I came up with it. So I have these posters that I'm going to allow them to download and print locally, because there's this, I don't like to call it out, but I mean, one of the curriculums that we use, it was called Kelso's Choice. Yeah. And it was $80 for 10 posters, and $500. It was $500 for a stack of worksheets in a folder and a puppet and 10 posters. And I was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, that stack of worksheets is sat in the guidance counselor's desk collecting dust. And I was like, what, So if you want to have a social emotional learning curriculum, here's a way you can integrate it across your curriculum.
I love it.
It follows IT. It helps your ELL students, and it includes SEL, and it's differentiated, So it's like, it's everything that I found worked, you know, and I'm just
That's
trying
great.
to take that and share it. It's my final coattail project is what
I
it
love it. I love it. Final Coattail project turns into an amazing website for teachers. How great is that? That's
Yeah.
what you always hope, right? It's what you always
Well,
hope.
I mean,
So
I
talk
got
to
to
me a
give
little
you.
bit. So where should teachers go here then? Where should teachers go? How do we find out more about this? Somebody's listening
So,
to this podcast going, oh my gosh, this sounds awesome. I want to put my $2 somewhere to see if this
I'll
works
put
for
my
my kid.
feedback in. It is you go to thekindestschool.org,
Okay.
and if from there you would look at KG or Kindest Generation at Home. That's the edition where the PTA, they fill out the form. They can send the form to me. Me or somebody who is on my team will help say how many codes do you need. Okay, here we go. Okay, we'll send them to you. You know, and the transaction is done, and then, you know, talk to us in a year. If you like it, come back. If not, no problem. You know, and you know, it is, I hope to change, you know, this can be a game changing, you know, event. And, you know, I risked everything, you know, I was like, I to try. But I've always said, you know, I'm a fearless innovator, you know, and that's what, that's what, that's what it takes to start this, you know? So
Yeah. Well, we talk about that a lot on the podcast, that fear is the opposite of success, not failure. And once you get
yeah,
past that fear to go for it, which you've done, you know, and are there bumps along the way? Absolutely. But that
oh
is,
man,
you know,
so many
success.
times.
Yeah, of course.
I,
Failure is everything that happens right before you become successful. And it's those that persevere through that learning. We call it
yeah,
learning. Some people call it failure. We call it learning, right?
that's the growth mindset.
That's the growth mindset. You've got to get through that. And all of a sudden, before you know it, that success comes, but you got to get out of that fear mode. So I love that.
Yeah. And I can tell you, man, this started, my brother he was always into character education. They always try, like, he's a, you know, funny. My brother's very, very different than me. Like, he's got, you know, he's a fifth grade teacher, but he lives, you know, 5 miles from where, you know, he grew up. You know, he's married, he got the 3 kids, you know, he's got the American dream, golf course, you know, like, he's
Yeah.
doing great. And he's in that classroom, and he is one of those traditional teachers, you know, but the one thing that we always see eye to eye on is teaching character and teaching kindness. You know, when my classroom, I had 2 rules in my classroom. That was it. So number 1, no bullying. That's it. That's the first rule. And if you are bullying, I'm going to get you out of here. Especially when I got to international schools. See ya. And the second one was just be kind to each other. Those are 2 rules. If you follow those rules, you and I are going to get along fine. You know. No, I didn't need 10 rules listed about. No, I didn't. No, those are the 2 rules that I ever had, and they were just simple. You know. And that's one of the things that I will do with the Kindest School is monitor if there's any cyberbullying. There's a 0 tolerance. Like, see you later. You're out. You know, we'll investigate and make sure it's actually bullying. But if a kid is doing that, no, there's got to be a safe place for kids online to learn, and that's one of the things that I vow to have. You know, is that safe place for kids.
Awesome. Well, where else can people reach you at? On Twitter?
There's Kindest School on my Facebook page is the Kindest School.
Okay.
That's my biggest one that I have right now. I have a Twitter account, I think is Kindest School. I think they're both at Kindest School.
Okay.
And Instagram is at Kindest Generation, but I haven't gotten those. I'm terrible at social media. So I just hired somebody to help me out with that. Because
that's good.
Oh my God, she's so much better than what I did.
Well, that's great. Well, we'll make sure all of those links are in the show notes as well, so people can easily click on them inside the episode, and they can listen to this, click on the link, and take it to you. So,
and there's Teach Kindness at Kindest Generation. That's the email if you want to email me.
Perfect, and we'll make sure that's there as well, so people can reach out to you.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. It's been a long time coming. I'm really excited I got to announce it and do all this on your show, man. It was.
Oh, well, thank you.
You've been such an inspiration for me. And I have no problem saying thank you to you, because it's very, very true, man. Like, everything that you did, you led a path, man. You steamrolled a path in education, and you're so respected amongst the teachers in this international community. I can tell you that very much.
Oh, well, thank you.
bring up I told them I was on your one, and they're like, "Oh my god!" Yeah, big deal, right?
Well, it was really kind this morning. I woke up to some tweets. I'm actually headed to Hong Kong, into Shenzhen,
Nice.
to do some work here next week. And there was a bunch of teachers on this morning.
Pass it on. Hey, I got something for you.
Exactly. But there are plenty of teachers in I haven't been back to Southeast Asia in a while, so a lot of people are excited. And I'm excited to see a lot of people, that I haven't seen in a while. So it's always great. Always great to be out in the international world. So.
Oh, Southeast Asia is such a great place to live, and you can go anywhere.
And visit. Yeah. And that's my big thing lately. I did a talk 2 weeks ago to high school kids. And I told them, because a lot of what we're talking about, they're one of the most empathetic generations that have ever been, and they need to understand each other, that according to the UN, by 2030, 50% of the population on Earth is under the age of 25. So this generation literally is half the Earth's population. I was like, you need to travel and go out and meet other people. And I said, if you're being cultured isn't knowing how to sip tea at the table anymore. Being cultured is like going and experiencing other cultures. And when I can fly to Hong Kong for $460, there's no reason why people can't, I know. Make it a priority that we've got to understand each other at a very fundamentally cultural level. And I just love it.
I totally agree, man. And you're totally right about it. Like 460, those big birds too. Those big birds they're not bad to, even economy. Yeah. I make the trip 4 times a year. I go from Bangkok to New York, or to Korea to New York. Yeah. To my nieces. And my friends, and and my brother and parents, I guess. But, more about the nieces. I got to be a good uncle. Being an uncle is very important.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you, Brian. Really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time early morning here in Bangkok.
I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Kindestschool.org, and we'll make sure that all of the links, and they can reach out to you on social media, your email address. I'll have you send me an email when we're done here, and I'll make sure that all of those are correct in the show notes. And thanks so much. Appreciate you coming on the show and launching.
Thank you so much. It's awesome. I appreciate it. Have a good day, man.
All right.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Shifting Our Schools with your host, Jeff Udick. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit sospodcast.org, facebook.com/Jeff Udick, and on Twitter @JUdick. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on Shifting Our Schools.